Let's hit it.
All right. How you doing? Welcome into On My Block, a Green Bay Packer podcast. I'm your host, Ahman Green, along with my good friend and teammate, Mike Wall. Mike, how you doing?
Doing okay, man. We had a great weekend of football. Not a great
Right.
weekend of Packer football. We had a great weekend of football, though, huh?
Exactly. I'm just coming out of my stupor. I call it a stupor because between the Packer 49er game and then the Chief Bills game, I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, this is football. I mean,
Yeah.
but obviously not proper technique football, but it's like fun. You get to watch it, like you said, cheering. You're doing things that you haven't done in a while watching a football game. So I'm right there with you. But talking about this Packer game, 49er game, we knew coming in this game, these 49ers were road warriors, what they did in Dallas. So now they're comfortable there because we've been on this. We've been in this situation. We've been road warriors where we knew, okay, it's playoffs. We're on the road. Oh, you know what? Okay, this is one less thing we're going to worry about is being on the road because we're already there. And this was what 49ers have basically made it their thing. Like, you know what? Cool. We're going to have fun with it. It's cold. So what? They got here a day early. They were practicing at one of the local high schools to get acclimated to the weather. And that's things you do as a coach and a coaching staff to say, hey, guys, this is what we got. I don't want to hear no, oh, my God, it's too cold. So they took that off the table. So then coming into the game, the players are just focused on playing football, playing their technique, and winning this game. And that's what the 49ers came here and did. And it was just seeing the overall game. I watched it from inside the alumni suite, so I could just pick apart a little bit what I can and able to watch the highlights later. But just seeing what I saw from our Packers, it was just a game of being a little bit out dominated in some areas, with the offensive line, defensive line matchup. And then obviously, and then the biggest one, elephant in the room, but everybody's talking about it, is the special teams part of the game that pretty much was a big factor on the deciding winning of the 49ers winning this game. And then offense was able, that first drive, I just watched the first five before we went live. I just wanted to rehash that real quick to see how they came out. They came out firing. They moved Devontae Adams around, to slot to the outside. And when he was in a triple or a triple alignment, he was the middle receiver to the slot receiver to the outside receiver, all on this one drive. Aaron Jones got the ball. A.J. Dillon got the ball, and then A.J. Dillon finished off the drive with a touchdown. Game started, with the clock at whatever, and then it was 9.5 to go. So you're talking about almost a 5-6 minute drive right there, coming out the chute in a important game for the Packers and for the 49ers. So out the box, out the first quarter, boom, we got Packers ready to show up, looking like they're playing some playoff football. But after that, Mike, then we could go down the line. But I'll hand it off to you first for your comments as well for the first quarter.
We blew it. I mean, there's just no other way to look at it. Like that team had, honestly, on paper, that team had no business playing in that game with us. They had no business playing. Jimmy Garoppolo has no business beating Aaron Rodgers ever.
I agree with that.
To me, this is the most damaging loss that I have seen from the Green Bay Packers since I've been a part of the Green Bay Packers organization. I don't know how else to say it. Like, with the expectations what they were, with the team where it is right now, with the situation with your quarterback, with what your quarterback has been a lightning rod all year, the way he's talked, the way he's played, the way that I own you to the Bears, and there's all this stuff, and the COVID deal. Like, there's so much going into this season. There's so much drama. To go out to be the number one team all season and then come out and score a touchdown on the first drive and then completely shut down after that as an offense. Like, our defense played lights out. We'll talk about it.
They played very well.
But to go out against, and there's a ton of different reasons that we can put this on, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, the buck stops with the head coach for a couple of decisions that he made or allowed. And unfortunately, like, as great as Aaron Rodgers is, and he's the best player I think I've ever seen, that was a very, very – if that was his last game there, that was a very unfortunate way to end your career as a Green Bay Packer, because the conversation in the eyes of a lot of casual fans has probably changed on, like, what your legacy is. And to me, he's still the most talented guy I've ever seen. He might be the best quarterback I've ever seen.
Right.
But you have to dude, you have to score more than a touchdown.
Have to.
Against the San Francisco 49ers defense at home in the playoffs. And God, you want to go into the special
Yeah,
teams?
Let's just go with the first layer. So you mentioned here the tight ends. Tight ends having a bad game. And we know how important the tight ends to this offense are. Obviously, early in the season, you lose Tunyon, but then DeGuaria steps up. Mercedes Lewis is doing his job. But then this game, first catch for Mercedes, it's a fumble. So then it was a trickle downhill effect from that standpoint, from that moment on, pretty much.
Mercedes Lewis has been, he's one of my favorite players. He's probably my favorite Packer. And Fred Warner I don't care if he scored on the first drive or not, but the whole game, Fred Warner was better than whoever was playing against him yesterday or on Saturday.
Their
linebacking crew, just run game, pass game, force bump, all this stuff. That dude came to play, and he had his guys ready to play. Mercedes has that fumble, and listen, what casual fans don't understand is that is such a momentum swing because I'm not speaking for Nathaniel Hackett because I don't know. Right. But you start looking at what happened for the rest of the game. DeGuara drops a pass. Yep. Gaffney, what is Gaffney? Honestly, Gaffney's going to be a good player. And listen, AG, you and I, just for people who are listening to this, we played. Look, we had our shares of successes and failures. Yep. We struggled at different times in our careers. I'm not bashing anybody. But for me, if the option is having Gaffney being in the game and being a crucial part of the run game, for example, in the cold weather against a good player on the San Francisco 49ers edges.
Yeah, both shows now.
Being responsible to get open in the pass game and do it. It's clear that Aaron Rodgers, after DeGuara dropped a pass, didn't trust him in the rest of the game.
True.
You see guys not – so, I would rather – those guys, I'd rather just not have in the game. Mercedes Lewis he has equity built up. You have a bad play, man. You just go back and make another play. We trust you. Now, he didn't have a good game. He missed a lot of blocks that he usually doesn't miss. Mm-hmm. But he has equity built up. We'll ride with that no matter what. But some of these other decisions as far as personnel, it was a little bit surprising. And then I guess what reinforces that is as you get into the third quarter, you get in the fourth quarter, dude, Davante Adams it looks like he's the only one that's open. He's the only one he's throwing it to. And
in the first quarter, for sure. First half.
Well, the first quarter, but then even in the second half of the game, we're not getting anything going.
No,
and
it was quiet.
There's a couple things where we get beat on the backside or play side of a running play. Linebacker gets downhill. We get a short gain. Then something happens in the passing game, whether a guy is not open, whether his first read's not open, and we'll get to this in great detail, whether Aaron gets pressured early and all of a sudden it's a throwaway ball and you're third and long again.
Right.
But when it came down to we got to win this damn game right now, it's the fourth quarter. He's not looking at some of the guys that I think in a game that was going more successfully on offense, he would probably look at. I'm talking about DeGuara off the chip blocks. Right. Not somebody not named Aaron Jones on the swing route or Davante Adams. Lazard had one catch, right? Maybe. Everybody else, no other receivers had a catch.
Yeah,
the reason is, bro, it's not like Aaron Rodgers all of a sudden was I'm not passing these guys. What happens, and look, right, wrong, or otherwise, if guys aren't making plays for you, there's one guy that was making plays every single play. Davante Adams.
That was it.
No matter where you put the ball, he was coming down with the ball. No matter who was on him, he was going to get the ball. So guess what, guys? Aaron's going to find him. And as a play caller, I don't know. There's blame to be shared around here.
Yeah.
But part of this is for all the internet experts who are out there going, well, he could have thrown it here. He could have done this. He could have done it. Dude, those guys weren't open all day. And so it's the responsibility at some point to be as a play caller, we need to find something else and we need to prioritize things on the sideline so we get away from Davante, or we need to make it so Davante's in motion something so he's not going to have double coverage. He's not going to be bracketed.
Right.
That's the only thing that we can kind of look at, right?
Right. Real quick. To your point, looking at the stats, they had what? I think the leading receiver was Aaron Jones because he had that big 75-yard run. Mm-hmm. And then right after him was Davante, I think, with 60 yards passing. And he then after that only hit two other receivers. So out of his 8 or 9 receivers that he usually hits per game, he only hit 4.
Lazard had one and DeGuara had one. And
that was it. And then Aaron Jones and Davante. That's it. Yep. So you bring that. I was talking earlier on another show this morning, and so when between looking at the targets, it basically targets cut in half, and then when you look at the drop passes early and the confidence within other players to throw the ball to, like you're mentioning with Devontae Adams, yeah, he's going to go there. He's not even going to think about it. He's already blinking. He could see the coverage. Boom, he's going there. So that right there from the quarterback, as we all know, quarterbacks throw to the guys they trust. Just like coaches play the players they trust. And so once you lose that trust in a game like this, that is pretty much gone, because then that player knows, okay, I know my options. I know my guaranteed options when I want to throw the ball. I know my guaranteed options when it's a run play call, or if I got an audible out of something, I know who exactly I'm going to. And 49ers kind of figured that out. And I think it's not hard to figure out, but when you don't at least try to, all right, you know what, let these other guys try to go out there and play and make something happen. But then at a point in the game, probably early in the game, but at a point in the game, later in the game, it's like, okay, now I need the guys to show up that need to be here. But then the other guys, if they played into it, then they could be along with the guys that already have the confidence among Aaron, among Matt LaFleur to call certain plays. And that's what was left out. Lazard, in the season, he showed up. DeGuaria, in the season, he showed up. The guys we were mentioning, they showed up at times during the regular season, but to make that name on that jersey more important, and we know this, is when this a game like this. This is the game where Lazard, DeGuaria, any other receiver not named Devontae, any other running back not named Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, for that matter. That's it. Those guys, not name those players, those are players that got to show up.
Rashawn Gary earned himself another 0.
Correct.
Next year's contract.
He definitely did.
He earned himself another 0 because of the way he played in the playoffs when everybody's watching.
Mm-hmm.
He dominated that game.
Right.
There's a point in that game that I was it was in the fourth quarter. It was the first series. It was the first play of a series around like the 4.5 minute mark, and I went oh shoot, they have Aaron pegged, like they're in his head.
Right.
And it was a designed run play, and he had Devontae flanked out. Cornerback was off, soft coverage, about 9-10 yards off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Explode off the line. And you know how Aaron steps up in front of Aaron Jones, significantly when he's going to hand the ball off? He was back here. He was just back like this. And the Will linebacker just sprinted towards Devontae, and he picked up the ball to throw it. He saw him. He panicked. Joey Bosa's coming at him. He had to roll out, and now we're in second and long.
Right.
And I just went, oh, and I'm sure it happened before that.
Yeah.
But I went, because you and I have talked about that specific thing, how you can read the quarterback pretty easily in this offense if he's going to continue to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder, because there was a couple times he got tricked in those situations where guys he thought were just going to be the easy pass weren't. He had to go to the second. All of a sudden he has pressure. Right. And it was just one of those games, man. You just can't believe it happened in that situation.
Right.
Our defense, if we're switching gears, man, our defense played so well. They couldn't have done much more. I mean, there's probably a couple floaters that Garoppolo threw to the flat that we might have been able to pick off. Like Stokes definitely had one if he opens his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But we absolutely murdered them on defense. Like that was such a great demonstration of what we're capable of, and we should feel so good about what we're capable of going forward. And then listen, Kittle makes a couple plays at the end of the game. Stokes is not going to cover him. Campbell's not going to cover him.
It started with that first drop pass from Kittle. Remember that first pass he had in the first quarter, second quarter? After that, he didn't drop nothing. But that's what I'm talking about. Players know when you make a mistake. He's got
equity, right?
Exactly.
He's got equity.
Yep. He didn't drop a pass after that. He beat Stokes like a drum the whole game, even though Stokes has been a great player this whole season for a rookie. So this is going to pay dividends. What I like for Stokes in the future, he got to look at this as like, you know what? I could take a lot from this game. Yeah. And for this whole season, and he's only a first-year player at cornerback, and we already know how quarterbacks gotta have to think. They got to forget the last play, basically.
We just feel how physical their team is, how difficult it is in the playoffs to play against a running team.
Yes.
And Deebo Samuel is good. I mean, dude, was it Chris Barnes who laid that guy out? Oh my God. Chris Barnes was a soul taker there for a second, right? Like he took a soul there for a minute. Debo's on the sideline like, no, I'm gonna go take a seat. I'm good.
Oh yeah, running back. Oh dang.
Oh
This how it really feels. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he might want to switch back. That was so he might have problems next week, but they at least get the chance to play next week. But our defense just did. Listen, for as long as we've had the great offense and a great quarterback and not had the defense, for our defense to go out there and play as well as they did, and we dropped 10 points, it's just, again, dude, like just palms up, man. It's just unbelievable. Let's dip our toe into how bad our special teams are real quick. Just to get it over with. Go ahead.
Let's just dip the toe in. And when I watch the playback, I see the first thing I saw on the block punt is what we're going to talk about is he's manned on the D lineman, and they must have picked that up during watching special team meetings and said, hey, we got to rush that when he could, because usually we know long snapper snaps the ball and they're usually out of there. You put somebody in his face, that could be a potential problem, and look what happened, And then I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching on this, but when a punt's blocked, I could find the ball pretty fast. It seemed like they didn't have no idea where the
that was
ball
a proxy for our entire year, wasn't it?
I was just like the ball.
It was like a who's on first moment. Like where?
I'm like I was like I've been in punt block situations. I've been in. It's not that hard to find the ball. You either look in the air and then you look on the ground. It's either one or two places. They're still looking in the air for like a good 10 seconds before the defender from the 49ers picks up and walks into the end zone. I'm just saying. I play baseball. I play basketball. I play other sports. Find the rock. I was just like, as a coach, oh yeah, we're having. I don't even know how I'm going to react in this meeting.
So you got they put Deebo Samuel back to get a couple good returns.
Yep.
Obviously, you got the blocked field goal with what's 95's name? The defensive is it Lancaster, Tyler Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Lets the guy go inside. I think everybody in the room has played that position before. We know where the danger is. Like, it's just unacceptable.
And it's
the block punt. The block punt is they only rush 6. The last play of the game, they have 10 people on the field. Now, I don't know if it's going to matter or not, but for God's sakes, after the year you've had, just go ahead and get 11 people on the field so we don't have to complain about that too.
Right.
And this is something as a huge fan of football. Like this is why I'd rather watch defense. Like I love rooting for the Packers, but I love watching defensive teams and defensive coaches. This is why I love the Steelers. I'm a Ravens fan. Like these are the teams that I love the Patriots. Those are the teams I like to watch. Mm-hmm. And the reason is you don't with those teams, or maybe the playoff teams that don't have a superstar quarterback like the 49ers.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers, and you and I know this from his time with Mike McCarthy, from his time now.
Mm-hmm.
He is so talented that he masks a ton of potential problems in that organization.
Exactly.
And this year, they're 13-4. They could have been 14-3 easily if they didn't want to play the fourth preseason game in the 17th week against the Lions, right? Number one team in the league.
Yep.
Right? Number one team in the league. Aaron Rodgers is going to be the regular season MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Their special teams have been abysmal the entire year. They were abysmal last year. Okay?
Yeah.
They're the worst special teams in the league. And it was never addressed. I mean, think about that. Really,
they did address it by. I say the best addressing to it was hiring internally by switching out coaches that was already there. It was assistant to an assistant from each head coach, each head special team coordinator that got fired from the previous year. Just to throw that in there.
Right. So okay. So let me just say it this way then.
Yeah.
At the middle of the season, when you have the worst special teams in the league, and it's the only thing keeping you from being a Super Bowl championship level team.
Correct.
You make zero adjustments. You don't play any of your starters offensively, your fullbacks, your tight ends, your running backs, your linebackers, your safeties, all your starters. Get on special teams. That's what teams do when they're struggling.
Exactly.
Hey, you know what Steve Smith used to do when we needed a punt return? Steve Smith go, I'll go. Right?
I got this. Right.
You know what Rodney Harrison would do when they needed a guy on kickoff return? I'll go. Right. I mean, that's what's supposed to happen. And for this to go on the entire year, and we got a potential coach of the year, we got the MVP, we got the number one team in the NFC. To have the worst, not middle of the road, not bad, the worst special teams in the league. I don't know how we measure that. The worst special teams in the damn league.
They're ranked 31st.
And to not be addressed, and for this to happen, and this is why we lose at home. Like, this is why, to me, this is the worst loss that you could this is worse than our 4th and 26.
Yeah.
This is the worst loss than when Kaepernick ran down our throats. This is the worst loss of this franchise because they had everything they needed. They had the right guys in the building. They had the right coaching staff, and they just they swept some things under the rug that were just not right, man. Like, this is not okay.
Yep, they had the best people in the building on offense and defense, not on special teams. I mean, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs game. What did they do late in the game? Who was back on punt return? Tyreek Hill.
A huge play.
And you saw 2 plays. One, he got him in field position, and another one, he scored. So I've done it myself. Where I say, "You coach, I got this. I'll go back there and run back a kick. We need some momentum." I remember a high school game. We're getting beat up by our rival. We're only down 7 points, but we should be up more. You know what? And the coach get in our butt. Our running backs coach. I remember he dug in us. He looked at all the running backs. He said, I'll say, excuse my language, y'all pussyfooting around here. And that's all I needed to hear. My dad ain't talked to me like that. So I'm like, you know what? I looked at the other running backs. I said, you know what? I'm about to make something happen. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it. I get the opening kickoff. I take it to the house. I'm like, nah, this is all about pride. Regardless of the game, win or lose, you know what? I'm playing 100% right now. And so that's what players on special teams got to realize, because we heard him. We heard players back when we played in college and high school. And then once we got to league, they just they don't want to give all the effort. They don't want to learn the technique. They don't want to learn the scheme of the special teams coordinator, the punt return, the kickoff return, the field goal block protection. They don't want to step where they need to step. They don't want to put that arm out to keep the edge tight or make the edge. They lose those simple things. Not saying
attention to detail is a joke. That's a joke.
That's right. It is for what the way these teams have played this year for the Packers special team. It looks like a clown show. But
this is one of those deals where if you don't directly address the problem, if heads aren't rolling, right, then you're complicit because you're allowing it. You're allowing the issue, right? Like we always say this about any high level player. If you set the bar down on the ground, they'll trip over it. Okay. If you put the bar up in the clouds, they'll reach for the sky. We are genetically designed internally to try to jump over whatever hurdle there is for us, like the expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when you see people that aren't paying any attention to detail, when you see people that are just missing assignments, when you see a punter who's singled up on a 6-man rush, then to me, it's like you're either not coaching them or you're just allowing this behavior to happen in practice, because there's no way those players want to go out and get embarrassed. And I'm not putting it all on the coaches. Like, there's responsibility across the board.
It's everywhere, right?
Dude, offensive, defensive leaders, let's have a meeting. Like, do something. But to lose a game in that fashion, because you could have had a bad showing on offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great defense, took in a draw on special teams, lived to fight another day. But nobody can overcome that in the playoffs. It's just
because it's a unit.
It's too bad,
it's a unit that's on the field a percentage of the time. That does make a difference. So switching gears a little bit, and also going down the layers of the reasons that the Packers lost, losing AJ Dillon. I can't even remember the play he got hurt. Was it on a special teams play? I just know eventually the commentator saying, "Oh, he's out with a shoulder injury," and so that was a big loss in terms of the run game and what he brought to it. Obviously, what we saw in the first quarter, but his development over the last month of football, how they would rotate him in with Aaron Jones to get that hammer effect to then beat up the defense and then drain the clock. So that weapon is gone, for all, offensive and all standpoints. So one less option to go out there on the football field and battle against. Do you think
they were playing? Do you think both those guys were like Pro Bowl caliber players this year? I think by the end of the year, you know better than I was, but when I watched them both, I'm like, man, either one of these guys, if they were just full timers, they could probably put up the numbers. They could put up the numbers to be all-stars. I mean, I think they both played really good.
100% agree. If they were full-time on either side, not either side, but on whatever team or this team, for example, Aaron Jones, yes, Pro Bowl, AJ Dillon, yes, Pro Bowl, full-time players, because then they get in a rhythm. They start learning things about themselves. They start learning things about their O-lineman and their quarterback. And, I could do this. Now I know this. how to pick up this blitz, or I know how to run this route now. Aaron told me, do this on your route so I can hit you with the ball here. Or I'm talking to Josh Myers on this power. This is how we gonna set up the power. If I'm turning my back this way, AJ didn't, or Aaron, boom, boom. It's like conversations that we had, to help me rise my game and help y'all game look great. It all worked together. So it was just like one of those things that, like you said, to answer your question, yes, Pro Bowl guys, if they were starting year round. So I think we beat a dead horse a little bit on that. We'll move on to trench warfare because I know it's frustrating. And like I said, I'm still kind of there. But to pass it on to you, Mike, let's get into this trench warfare. What you talking about here?
So here's something that I don't know how many people have thought about, but I would posit that David Bakhtiari blowing his knee out in practice last year has cost us 2 playoff games.
Yes, I gotta agree. Okay. To me, very surprised to see he was out for this game.
Yeah,
so I'm like, what?
And it's been a long time, so now you're kind of looking at like long-term health. If we just separate the two now, you kind of look at long-term. I hope he's going to be okay because now he's been overall out for a year. But this game, listen, I've sung the praises of the offensive staff of Adam Stenavich, right? Like I think he's done an amazing job with this group. At the beginning of this game, when I found out that they were going to start Billy Turner, but they were going to start him at left tackle and leave Dennis Kelly, who's like 6'7" or 6'8", against a 6'2" Popeye arm Nick Bosa, right? Who's just going to beat the brakes off him with leverage over and over again. My reaction was like, what could we possibly be thinking? How could we possibly think this is a good idea?
Right.
And I don't know if they thought that Nick was going to travel over and play against Billy, because Billy, it's like when you're in the playoffs, you play strength against strength. Josh has played like 14 games or something, man. Like, let him play or whatever. He's experienced. Billy Turner is our best right tackle. We have now Patrick, who has been right guard before, but he hasn't played there all year. No, so now you've got two inexperienced guys on the right side. Put your strength in. Nick Bosa is going to eat all day, and Eric Armstead's right there. And
who's a problem?
It's not just about like sacks, man. Like Aaron Rodgers was bothered all day by the right side of our offensive line getting pressure. And part of it is scheme, part of it is situation, but part of it is like you should have had the right guy over there. Like Billy Turner, you go strength on strength in the playoffs. You don't put your second team right tackle over there and hope for the best when you've got a guy who's proven himself at left tackle the entire year. I know he's a rookie, but he's proven himself the entire year. You put your best right tackle over against their best player, man. I thought that was a huge mistake, and it was a problem all game.
Yeah, sometimes we know in coaching, you kind of overthink it, and we've been in some of those situations. So overthinking things and then switch out players or not call plays because you're feeling less than or not really confident. Hey, you got to go with what you know and what the player has done all year long. So I agree with you there. What you got next?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. So there's a couple of things. Like it's not only the pressures, but it's the communication. Right? I think 91 got a sack on him late where we slid too far. We had the running back on the side trying to go out and pop out on a guy that Kelly's actually trying to block. We let their best interior rusher go scot-free. Communication issues kind of goes back to the same point. The other thing that you kind of see, and this is always kind of an interesting way to look at the game because there's so many different ways that the play caller and play designer can affect who's on the field. So, for example, if you're going to put your backup right tackle and you have a right guard who hasn't had a ton of experience this year playing that position against arguably their two best defensive players on the line of scrimmage, at least, not named Fred Warner, right? You can start putting the primary receiving routes to one side or the other so that Aaron's exit strategies or where he's going to step into the throw isn't going to be directly affected by the fact that the right tackle is going to get beat or the right guard's going to get bull rushed, because those are real things that are going to happen in this game, regardless if you want to act like they are or not. Like the two players that they had were better than the two players that we had. And it's not a knock on our guys. Those two guys are really good.
They are. They're really good players.
It's in bad conditions. They're really good players. And Dennis Kelly is not going to be able to block Nick Bosa in a game for very long. It's just not going to happen. So there's things that we can do in the trenches to kind of help ourselves. But, ultimately, when you look at the physicality they played on the defensive line, the way that Fred Warner and the rest of the linebackers, I think, did a really good job against not only our offensive line, but our tight ends really beat them, kind of backside, beat them to the spot more often than not.
Yeah.
The details in the run and pass game, it just starts adding up. Like you just get a second and long, turns into a third and long. And it's very hard to have a sustainable offense in that fashion.
I mean, because you got to factor in not only the physicality that Bosa and Armstead bring in the game, is also their IQ of the game. They know certain situations that they're going to have to push off. Oh, you know what? Oh, it's a screen coming. I see 33 ducking in the middle of the line of scrimmage in the middle of the field, and they'll just stop their rush. And like, okay, I saw plays when I think it was the first drive with Bosa. He played his technique to when that reverse came around with Acaminius. He would pretty much ran Acaminius out of bounds and they barely picked up a yard on that play. And that was in the first quarter of the game. So yeah, later in the game, you got those players that then now digging in, because then now, even though you factor in cold weather or not, when you're not the team with the momentum, cold weather becomes a problem, because now you have to throw the ball. You got to get the ball to these guys. And for a defender, they're like, okay, I'm licking my chops. Now I could rush. Defensive backs, linebackers that have been playing great all year, and for this game, they showed up for the 49ers. Now they could get in those positions because they know they're forcing Aaron to throw the ball certain areas, and then that offensive line obviously is taking the pressure of those two solid players that you mentioned with Armstead and Bosa, rushing in there.
Yeah, those guys are great players. They played well. We knew it was going to be a battle up front. And again, we talked about our defense, and I can't say enough good things about how that unit performed all year. I mean, Zadarius Smith shows up and gets a sack like right off the jump. I mean, that great shot in the arm, right?
Yep.
And Preston Smith stood up to Trent Williams in the run game more often than not.
Right.
Sean Yeri had not a good game, a great game. Like Kenny Clark, those guys it was so much fun to watch them. Devondre Campbell had a good game. I know that Kittle got him once in the pass game later kind of when it mattered, but those things happen with good players. But that box team for us, Chris Barnes, I don't want to forget him because he played so well.
Yep.
Those guys were physical. They took the fight to the 49ers. Technically, they beat them. Technically, we talked about Rashawn Gary, for example, and that inside press, right? And that stab that turns into an arm over a rip inside. Exactly. That is money. I'm just telling you right now, next year they're going to be game planning for him. I told you all year, man, it's going to happen. It just happened. Like this game, they're going to go, oh, he is a guy like Von Miller. If we don't handle our business with an extra chip or something, he's going to get us. He's going to get the bag. So I'm super excited for those guys going forward next year. You start looking at, because the question they asked Aaron at the end of at the press conference with the cap issues, all these guys that might be up last year, the contract and everything. You just hope we can retain some of this talent, because God, you'd love to be able to make them another run, seeing how that defensive backfield is starting to come together, and seeing how, especially when we keep Devondre Campbell for another year, seeing how good that box seven is going to play. Yeah,
they got solid players there. Hopefully, like you said, there's one thing we heard at every season, hey, this is going to be a different team in the fall. Guys got to figure out and decide on what they're doing with their contracts or with their time on the team, things like that. That was the normal, unfortunate conversation that we had come year in after a playoff loss or just the end of your season from the regular season. So from that on, we'll move on to Get Off My Lawn.
Get off my lawn.
It's some shenanigans going on, all the way around this weekend of football, man. So I'll let you start it off there. So I can't wait till you explain this one.
Well, let me just start with this. Like, my ability to bet a game, I lost. Here's how bad I am. Okay, so I had the Titans, and I literally. So this is, and I've gotten. So now
This is a bad weekend for people in Vegas,
right? So I had the Titans. So usually I just go like, I'm going to bet with Vegas, right?
Right.
But I know Tannehill. I'm a big Tannehill fan, and I bet the Titans because I'm like, they're at home. It's the playoffs. They can run. Derrick Henry's coming back. Derrick Henry is not. he's kind of finding his sea legs a little bit in the first half of that game. Doesn't look like the usual guy. Tannehill throws 3 picks. And Burrow just does just enough to win the game. So I got that L. I take the Packers L right on the face. Like, I thought it was 31-23. That was my prediction for the game. I thought we were going to score 31 points. We scored 10.
No.
Okay.
Right.
Then I got let's see, what was the next game? The Rams Bucks games.
The Rams Bucks
game.
Yeah, Rams Bucks first. Yeah.
So I was back and forth here, but I never bet against Tom Brady, so I lost that one.
Right.
Then I had the Chiefs went on a show yesterday afternoon and talked myself into taking the Bills. 0 for 4.
Oh man, I'll say for sure 3 losses. I probably would have went Chiefs only because I've seen them do things in the fourth quarter. If I was a betting man myself, so I know the first three right off the board. I'm with you 100%. I'm looking at every game. All the home teams basically lost and play. So road teams, it didn't matter. And then I think like I said it earlier. You gotta have that mentality, road warrior. You like, you know what, we gotta do this, and I don't care what we gotta do. We gotta play this thing on Pluto. It don't matter. We're gonna come play football. But yeah, I would have been 3-1. If I would have bet it, I would have got one bet win out of there.
So AG, that's 1 and 3. That's not 3-1.
All right, I'm sorry. 1 and 3. My bad. I flipped it around. Sorry, I flipped it around.
No, that's it. I'm sure Vegas would have been all right with that too because they love it.
Yeah, they would have. All right, what's this next one here? Overlooking what matters. Explain that, please.
And listen, we could talk about the special teams and the coaching staff. Ultimately, I try to tell, when I talk with coaches, when I consult with teams, or when I work with athletes, my message is something around like, you better be the best at the basics of your position, or you're going to have a real struggle.
All day.
And more games are lost in this league because of guys playing with poor technique, then scheme breakdown, then a coaching error. Dude, the game is about, can you execute the stuff you're supposed to execute? We just talked about Dennis Kelly's going to have a hard time playing a leverage player like Bosa.
Yep.
At the end of the game, Jair Alexander, who has been a great player for us, has an opportunity to shut down the running back on a 3rd and 8 play and doesn't wrap up, just dives in. I don't know if his shoulder hurts. Like, I really don't care. In other words, don't be in the game. But because you decided to not use technique that you've learned, that your coaches taught you when you were in junior All-American football, you decided not to wrap up at the legs. You gave them another first down and put them in a position to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally, for me, it's literally as simple as that. Like, it is okay to get beat. It's okay to get beat by a better player. It's okay to get out coached. It is inexcusable for me
fundamentals
to lose on fundamentals that you know better. Like when I gave up a sack because I thought I'd get cute and try a new set in the middle of the game, like that is and I did it a ton. It's inexcusable, right? You know better. Stick to what you know. Stick to what got you there. Be a technician. Don't overlook the important stuff. Coaches with the special teams, like the game is about. I'll make this statement to you, AGC. Tell me if you agree or disagree.
Yeah.
You take an average roster in the NFL, a couple good players, not a couple good players, not an elite level quarterback, and you coach them up. You make them the absolute best of the basics. You put in a basic offensive and defensive system. I will guarantee you 19 out of 20 years you're going to the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
It's really that easy.
I say what people get lost in is obviously the X factor of a player's talent, physical talents, and what they can do.
Yep.
That's where people kind of coach. When I say people, coaches sometimes, scouts obviously do it. They see a guy like Tyreek Hill. They see a guy like Josh Allen in the draft. They see a guy like Pat Mahomes. They see these athletes, the physical part of them, and say, because prime example, Tom Brady. What round did he get drafted in? The 6th round.
5th or 6th, right?
5th or 6th round. Because physically, he probably looked average to every scout that looked at him when he was at Michigan. To every college scout, pro scout, looking at him, they was like, oh, he's just the average run-of-the-mill drop-back quarterback. But you can't factor in the intangible, the X factor of this, and then the physicality. But then when you look at the physicals, when you got special players like a Tyreek Hill, who's literally faster than anybody on the football field, or you got a guy like Armstead for the 49ers, has size and then knows how to lose leverage, and it's something that, as you mentioned, Rashard Gary is learning, then they be like, then coaches are like, okay, we got this player, we could do this. But they forget, as we know with pro coaches, what most pro coaches, this, what most pro coaches will not do.
Oh, they want to skip individual period to go
Boom.
coach up scheme.
Exactly. They want to worry about the big picture, the blitzing and the coveraging, and not work on. Oh, I've noticed my DB can't even sit in the press position. He don't even know what press position looks like.
Yep.
Or he's showing inside leverage when he should be showing outside leverage right now. It's like, wait a minute, come here. Or wait a minute, my running back, he's not even got is it a finger? He's like holding the ball like all crazy. Like, come here. Let me just take 5 minutes and fix this. Because you about to get beat like a drum if you coming off the ball and you're not going with one or two moves. Okay? Set your butt down. So it's like those coaches sometimes you need those coaches. You need that coaching time to then get that play. Because then, we don't have these conversations because the player is not showing. I mean, for me, I'm with you 100%. If you get beat on fundamentals, you shouldn't even be playing right now. I don't care what level of talent of you are. I don't care what sport it is. When you see fundamentals that are not there, I watch baseball. I played baseball. I see the same thing, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he's going to strike out, or he's not going to field that ball rightly because he's not in the right balance to go down and get it. I already knew that ball was going to fly. So you see those things because we know. And so, oh, my God. I don't like it. And just like we saw on this one, Cooper Kupp going right up the middle. I'm like, you don't put a hand on this guy? I'm with you on this one. Get off my line with that one. I'm like,
yeah. Here's what I'll say about this too, right? And this the Cooper Kupp play, but just in the Bills game, the Chiefs game, what happened to rerouting a receiver on the line of scrimmage? Like, are we not allowed to do that anymore?
Right. They scared.
You think about how many guys. You think about like Tyreek Hill at the end of that Chiefs Bills game.
Yeah.
Why don't you try to reroute him? Or Travis Kelce. Why don't you try to reroute? Like, I don't understand what we're doing. Why does Cooper Kupp get a free run at your flat foot safety? Like, you know what the worst feeling in the world is? There's two worst feelings in the world of football. The first one is when I'm facing our end zone and my guy just beat me and he's going to hit Brett. That's probably the worst feeling in the world. And the second worst feeling in the world is when a safety's standing flat-footed and Cooper Kupp's running right by him. And he goes, they're neck and neck, right?
Right, that's a problem.
You're just going like, dude, what are we doing? Like, why would you even make that? Like, and it's one of those deals where you go, if you're Todd Bowles and it's 27-3.
Right.
Yeah, great coach. Right, listen, great coach. It's 27-3. You shut him down in the second half, cause a couple fumbles. It's 27-27. They haven't moved the ball in the second half. Why are you calling slot blitz and letting your safety man up against Cooper Kupp? Like, why are you doing that? But then I wrote this and then I realized that the safety didn't know it was slot blitz. They didn't know it was cover zero, and neither did neither did David. And you're just going like, okay, well now we got a real problem.
Yeah,
like, communication. I guess is pretty important in the sport, huh?
Yeah, and it just boils down to situational awareness. Knowing, like, I see the best receiver on the team running upfield. Oh, I'm getting on him. And if I got to get a flag, I'm taking that flag.
Right. Tackle him.
Just be smart, because then you live to the next play. Okay, they got a first down. They might got a little bit of yardage, but now they still need, so, if you get a pass, I say on that play, you get a pass interference there in field goal range. But at least you're like, wait a minute, I'm not just going to get beat like this. Like, come on. I gotta do something, and I've seen Patriot DBs do that in games where they're like, you know what, I'm beat. I'll just bring them down. We reset the ball here. Okay, maybe we could block the field goal or something. That's when special teams could come in. But yeah, next one here on the list, we got Aaron Donald putting in work.
I just want to say
that's a world man. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, he's one of the keys to the game. I think in that game, at least from my perspective, was Aaron Donald's got to be a difference maker. I think he had 7 pressures. I know we stopped, and thank God, like, we've stopped counting sacks as like the only impact play, but he had 7 pressures. Like, he was everywhere that game. He just destroyed them. They were hurt. We knew they were banged up.
Yep.
Von Miller's beating up on Tristan Wirfs' replacement. Obviously, Ryan Jensen was kind of half speed. He was a warrior for just going it all. But man, it's tough when you got a guy like Aaron Donald. He is as unblockable an athlete as I've ever seen at the defensive tackle position. Like, he's just unblockable to me.
Yeah, strong. I mean, strong, explosive, and then he has the mental. He understands the game, has the IQ of the game to get out there and beat people up and do it the right way. So, and then you got
this last one, bro. Yeah, this last one is this. yesterday at some point, and we've talked about this, like everyone's. I think it's a really tough job, right? And these guys are doing it. These guys are generally all doing a really nice job, right, with the playoff commentators and everything.
Right.
But I want the option to listen to like a handful of different playoff crews during the game. Like I want to be able to like go to like ESPN2, like they do for the national championship game.
Right.
I want to go to ESPN2 if I don't want to listen, because yesterday they had Chris Collinsworth is not my favorite commentator, right? And then I had to go to halftime. Well, I didn't go, but because I switched channels. But the halftime was, instead of Drew Brees, they had Chris Sims there, and I'm like, you've got to be joking. Like,
yes.
Of all the guys that I don't want to hear talk about, quarterback play, it's Chris Sims. And so I'm just going like, all right, Tony Romo's on the other side, but like, can we get Greg Olson on this channel? Like, who else can we get instead of these guys that I can just so I have the option, right? And you know who does a great job of this? National championship football does a great job. But the other people who do a great job of this is in the Premier League back in the day in soccer. They used to have a fan channel where they would get two fans and they'd allow them to commentate in the game on national radio or national TV. It was fantastic.
There it is.
I would love to listen to that. Oh, can you imagine if it was you and me, or you pick two guys, and then you get two guys from the Niners that we played against, and we're just talking trash the whole game.
About the game.
Who would not love that?
People would love that. That's similar to what they're doing with Eli and Peyton. But yeah, I'm down for that, because some of the commentation gets, I think, a little lofty or heavy on certain players. They start they're talking about the quarterback. Oh my God, look at that.
That's what yesterday, man. That got me.
Oh my God, look! Oh my God, look how he's placed the ball. I'm like, look, it's a dude catching the ball too. Even with running back, man, I'm like, there's linemen blocking. That running back, okay, outside. Once he gets past the line of scrimmage, whatever after that, okay. But just don't think he just is.
They had me yesterday because listen, they're going to talk about Cooper Kupp because he won the Triple Crown, and I love, I think he's an amazing player.
I mean, that's
Collinsworth made some statement like something to the effect of like, not only is he the best receiver on it, he's like another guard out there blocking. And
he was saying that the whole game.
And I just went, I know, like, you're a professional. You've been in this. Like, people obviously like you because you're one of the,
highest rated, highest paid guys in the league.
Right.
But from an ex-player standpoint, I've had enough. I want to watch somebody else now, please.
I've heard him.
CBS, please do me a solid.
I've heard him several times. I heard him several times do that. It's like, I'm like, bro, Cooper Kupp will get his.
Remind me what the guard's name is, Chris. You know what I mean? Like how about you just talk about the real guard?
Right, the real guard or the actual tight end. Like, come on now.
Right.
That's why I got this shirt on. If you don't recognize this shirt, this is from season 2 of Stranger Things. So that's what happened this weekend. The upside down, it was Stranger Things. That's why I got this T-shirt on. And now I have one more thing for get off my lawn out. And we talked about this before early in the season. I don't care if it's a first down. If you catch the ball for a big game, you run the ball, get a ball to the referee, get your butt back to the huddle.
Great call.
Devontae, I love him. He gets the first down. He's doing the finger point. No, you're supposed to get the first down. You're supposed to run the ball. Aaron Jones, love him to death, love his game. He has the big run. No, I'll be like, get your butt back to the huddle. Focus on the game. That's what you were here for. You're not here for your social media clips to get put on your. No. Jog back to the huddle, please. Or we're going to have problems. If I'm the quarterback, I'm like, what you doing? Or I'm the one that the old lineman in there. I said, boy, get yourself back in here. Game ain't over. We ain't won this thing yet. What's wrong with you?
I think that
you get first downs. You're supposed to get first downs.
This is a generational thing, obviously, because I completely agree with you. But I also think that. Look, they're entrepreneurs, right?
Right.
These athletes are entrepreneurs, and they're branding themselves. And how many times do you get on Instagram after the game? How many times do you get on Instagram after the game, and they have already had the media guys send them all the pictures of them doing whatever they're doing, and they immediately blast them out and say something. And it's like, it's one of those deals where I totally get why they're doing it. But oh my God, you just go, please, especially when it matters. Like,
right.
It was like, remember what's the guy's name, the receiver for Pittsburgh, got in a lot of trouble for doing that this year. Chase Claypool.
Oh, yes. And it was a 2-minute drive, and he got up and did his point.
Instead of just like, dude,
didn't get a ball to the referee. It cost them the game. It literally cost them the game.
Oh man,
and that's something like as at our age, we think of it as kind of from a parent or a coach or a mentor. You go like, dude, that'll cost the coach's job,
right?
You know what I mean? Just because it's, I don't know.
I mean, we talked about situational awareness. 2-minute. I'm talking to my running backs or my wide receivers and say, when you catch the ball, either get out of bounds or you give it to the ref once you get tackled, and then run back to the line of scrimmage. Look at the quarterback to get the play, and then boom, you're staying. You're right. We're no huddling unless we say huddle. Then we huddle. Other than that, you go into your whatever side of the field you're on. You go to that split and get that split. Look into the quarterback and see the play. Boom, offensive lineman, you're in your stance already. You're looking back, waiting to see the call, and then boom, you're ready. It's like, come on. So that was my last. I had to throw that in there because it's the end of the season.
Let's bottom line this, okay? So season's over.
Right.
For the Green Bay Packers, the season's over. We have to figure out who we're rooting for this year. Where do you go from here? Where do you go with Aaron Rodgers? Like, he made some comments yesterday, and like everyone's going to read into him. But look, bottom line, we don't know what he's going to do, and he is very good at making sure that we don't know what he really wants.
Yeah, he's a master at that.
Without speculating on what he said yesterday or all of that nonsense, like just looking at this team, kind of having to understand there's some key players that, like Devontae Adams, like guys you have to retain or make some decisions on. Where do we go? What's next?
I mean, what's next is obviously get the players, try to keep as much of the same players as possible. That's always number one. Look at contracts.
Well, hold on, AG. But the bottom line, like it all starts and ends with me is like if you don't have Aaron Rodgers, you might as well just dumpster fire.
That's the first. Like I'm saying, start with players that you need. So that's number one. That's get AJ, get number 12. You lock in number 12, then everything just falls into place.
So that means probably Devontae's number one then, right?
After
he's
him,
probably not coming back without Devontae.
Bam. He said that. Yeah. He made a comment. He says wherever 12 goes, I go. He said that in the offseason, I think. Okay. If I don't know, don't quote me on it. It was one. Maybe it puts a statement he made at one point in time wherever, or he said I got his back. You know, as a teammate, which is a true statement. Obviously having his back. But yeah, you start with 12, then 17, and then after that is then 33, 28. Then defensive players. What's that? 59. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
He's on a 1-year deal, right? 1 year, $2 million deal.
That's it. He's on a short deal. I didn't even know that. I just checked. I looked at contracts this morning. It was just like, oh yeah, I didn't even realize he was on a 1-year thing, and it was like deal. It's like, oh.
Hey, let me ask you this. So when right now they went to 2 NFC championships, lost them both.
Yeah.
Just got knocked out of the second round of their first game of the playoffs.
The divisional, right?
They've won their division. Their division sucks. Let's just call it because their division's awful,
True.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, how do you look at, as an ex-player, as a fan, Mike McCarthy took a lot of grief with the deteriorating relationship with Aaron Rodgers. The fact they didn't get to the Super Bowl. I would have said, if you would have just asked me, what is the most talented team the Packers have had in the last 10 years, I would have said this year. Just because their defense is in a position where they're so good.
It rolls up, right.
Right. And I think, again, like I think the offensive line situation for the year was masked for a long time, but yesterday it turned ugly because I think they put the wrong people in the wrong places, but that's just me. How do you look at now with Aaron Rodgers and whether if you're sitting in his shoes, what is his legacy? Because regardless of how he looks outwardly, we know he cares. We know he cares about his legacy. So what do you think his legacy is right now? And does that compel him to leave, or does that compel him I got to come back here and win one?
Ooh, that's a great question, Mike. That is a great question for the things that we've seen Aaron say, and obviously the time in the offseason where he didn't say nothing at all. He was very strategic and smart, obviously, about that. And the way he he cares about his teammates and the guys that enter in that locker room with him. That right there, I would have to go with that second part of that question, because for his caring and know what they've done the last 3 years, that's where I would say that his it could be a potentially where he feels like, you know what, we got something good going here. Let's keep it rolling. It could be that possibility. But really, we just gotta wait until, like you said, he'll give us some time, let things die down, and then we'll know something. But yeah, I would say the second half of your statement there is where he, because he does care. And in terms of definitely the players in that locker room, to making sure they have that same, I say, band together again to do what they did again, they can make another run for it. For sure.
I agree.
What about yourself? So what about yourself?
Yeah, I agree with you. I honestly don't know. Somebody talked about this morning that we don't know if Tom Brady's going to be back. And like, can you imagine if both these guys are either out of the league or not? I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to play somewhere. But God, I mean, even the idea of those guys for the last 20 years, we've enjoyed watching Tom Brady play. And as Packers fans, you've had 30 years of just Hall of Fame quarterback play. Go ahead.
And then, I mean, it's like in basketball when Michael Jordan retired, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. When those guys retired from the game, so you look at the big picture, that's going like consumers, the fans of those teams, revenue's going to be down. Revenue's going to be down.
On the other hand, to be fair, the AFC is pretty loaded at quarterback.
True though, AFC, right? They got a young guy
the NFC's got some quarterback issues. If these guys were to leave, I mean, the one thing here, this is the one thing that I kind of look at honestly is like, I start going, all right, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, where can I go? And if after watching the Bills Chiefs game last night, because where has everybody talked about for him destination wise? Broncos were high up there.
Right, it was Steelers too a few times.
Steelers are high up there. So let's just take those. Like to me, those were the best two options until last
AFC
night.
Team, both AFC teams.
Right, because if can you imagine being an AFC general manager or an AFC head coach right now watching that game last night, the Bills Chiefs game? Like you have no chance of ever competing for a Super Bowl if you are not unless you're a quarterback. And I don't know if there's another like Lamar Jackson is insanely unique in the way that he can do things, but he's got to stay healthy. Everything like they have to have the right pieces in place. But aside from Lamar Jackson, is there another quarterback in the AFC that is ever going to be able to go through Buffalo and Kansas City in the next 10 years? Hell no.
No.
And
it's the defense. That's their defense.
Justin Herbert's incredible. So maybe him, right?
Maybe.
But Joe Burrow's I mean, he could prove me wrong this weekend. We're going to find out those two.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, when I see those two, I just go like, oh my God. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson,
Pat Mahomes,
Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes, dude, I'm not going to the AFC. And I'm sure as hell not going to the AFC West. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, so, and then you go, I'm going to go to the AFC North with Pittsburgh's going to reload. So maybe it's them. But Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, like you're never going to get out of your division.
No, you beat each other up there, black and blue, like our division used to be.
So my whole thing is like, I don't know where he's going to go. That would even make sense.
True. I mean, but that's the fun thing. We get to wait and find out, bro.
Yeah,
that's what we get to do. But the one thing I know I'm not going to do, because we're talking about it now, and that's it. I'm not going to keep speculating like every other commentator out there. I'm gonna like, look.
You. The good thing about you and me is we'll be done after today.
Exactly. That's it.
And with that, man. So let's just talk about these two AFC NFC championship games.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
We got the Bills and the Bengals. I mean, excuse me, the Chiefs and the Bengals. God, last night was such a we could talk about that forever. That was such a great game. Sorry, Chiefs and the Bengals. Who are you taking?
Oh man, I'm just off of. They're just getting there. I love the Bengals. I love Burrow and Jamar Chase hookup, but just they're young and they're trying to like take over the world because they're that's what young people think. But I think the experience of Pat Mahomes and then Andy Reid, Bieniemy, Kelsey, and that defense. I say that it's not the Chiefs' defense; it's just the offense, and the defense gets motivated off the offense, and they're scoring, and then they know how to. Excuse me. Then they know how to make up for their mistakes in a game. I'm gonna go with Chiefs. for that matchup.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with the Chiefs just because they've been so successful. It feels like Patrick Mahomes, especially last night. You're like, dude, you literally can't play better football than those two played last night, and so it'd be tough to beat. But the Bengals, we talked about this off air, dude. Like, it's Zach Taylor's job as a head coach has been this year. You almost are like, dude, are you just a genius for just letting it happen? Like all the sacks they give up, it's like it's almost like Zach is like, you know what? I'm just gonna call my plays. I'm gonna call this stuff. He's gonna get knocked out. He's gonna get hit. He's gonna get sacked 9 times.
Mm-hmm.
But when he does throw the ball, good things seem to happen. So I'll just keep letting him get beat up. And like, it's probably not sustainable. Like in 5 years from now, he's gonna feel like he's 65. But like right now, it just seems to work. Like our offensive line can't block. And what would most coaches do? All right, we gotta turn into like a more of a play action team. We gotta go throw quick. Nope, they're still running deep crossers. They're running all these like 5, 7-step drops. They don't care.
No,
he'll just keep getting him pounded, man. Because when he lets that ball go, it's magic.
It's magic. He knows how to get it to Chase and Higgins, and then you got Mixon in the run game. Mix it in. So mix it in. A little play on words there. So that was by mistake because I'm not a rapper. Just put that out there. But yeah, I would say in the next game we got 49ers and the Rams. So NFC West playoff NFC championship matchup, which I don't think that's happened in a while.
This will be a great game.
It's going to be a great game, and most evenly matched. Obviously, seen each other through. This is the third time in the regular season, which we've been on that road. We had to face the Vikings, I believe, in 04 or 03. Or no, 04 in the playoffs. Terrible. Oh my God, I hated that game. And then this is going to be a similar game because these guys know each other. It's going to be physical, and right now, I mean, they're both playing good. And they're playing in decent weather. Now, if this was a game for some reason it was in inclement weather, I would say I would give this to the 49ers now because of the way they played here in Lambeau Field in the cold weather. But since it's fair weather, it's in LA, so it's going to be an even playing ground in terms of that standpoint. Excuse me. It's just going to now be basically who's coming to play because we saw Matt Stafford play well, do his thing, get ahead of the Bucs, and then Bucs, couldn't really find much, but obviously we know they had injuries in key positions. But the 49ers, like I said, they on this warrior mindset, and right now they have the momentum. So for me, it's a tough decision, but I'm gonna go just because as a child growing up in Los Angeles, my dad made me a 49er fan. So I'm gonna go there. Off of nostalgic sake, I'm gonna go with the 49ers to give a decision there. What about yourself, Mike?
I've been saying this whole time, like I told you, my betting record sucks right now. So I want the Niners to win because I like their style of play.
Yes,
but I honestly think the way that Stafford's playing pretty well. He's playing a lot better than I thought he was going to.
Yeah,
the game yesterday he played really well. The fumbles are not his fault. The other guys are losing the ball. He wasn't. He had 0 turnovers. Aaron Donald's on the Rams, man. Like Aaron Donald's really good, man.
He's a problem.
He's really, really good. So
I think in SoFi at home NFC Championship game, I'm just gonna lean towards the Rams this time around because and the other thing is, dude, we don't know if Deebo Samuel is gonna be healthy. We don't know if Trent Williams is gonna be healthy. Like they've got some guys that are kind of limping into this game. They might have
key guys.
They might have blown it out, beating the Packers, and like bottom line, when you get in these situations, you don't know how the reffing's going to be, but you kind of know it's going to favor the offense. And in these games like this, like you got to go with the quarterback, man. And I think Stafford's the quarterback here for me.
Right. All right. That sounds good, man. So we're going to watch and see. All right. And that's the end of the podcast. So where you can find me, you can see it scrolling on the screen live there. But if you just listening, so it's Ahman Green 30 on Twitter and Instagram for myself. And Mike, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, hit me up on Twitter, MikeWall68, or Process to Perform on Instagram. And you can check, actually, AG, I wanted to mention this. Like, if you guys want to check this on this video, you can check this on the YouTube page, the Process to Perform YouTube page.
Yeah,
it's
that's
on the
right.
repeat. Yeah.
Yep. So it's actually live as well. So there you go. Or not live, but recorded. Showing on there, recorded.
It's live to us, man.
Yeah, I know it's live for us, for sure. So Mike, I guess we keeping this thing rolling, right?
Yeah, we might as well. What the hell, man? At least we get to talk to each other for a week in and a week out. See, here's the good thing though. So next week we don't have to be fans of either team.
Exactly.
We can be like, sometimes you hold back, right? Because Green Bay guys.
Well,
and,
we didn't hold back today. I don't think we held back today.
Well, okay, you're right. I was just hot today, man.
You came out hot. I love it.
I was so
hot
angry.
too.
I was just so angry at that game because it's like
I feel you.
I'm gonna go back into it. You're gonna pull me back in. Don't pull me back in, bro.
No, I won't.
But next week,
Next week,
we'll get these AFC, NFC championship games in. All right.
We'll know who's going to LA for the Super Bowl if it's still in LA. You know, they're talking about Dallas and other cities.
Because of COVID.
Yeah, because of COVID.
I hope they do that. If they do that, that just goes to show that Jerry's really running the show. It doesn't matter if the Dallas Cowboys are in it or not, man. He runs the NFL.
You got a point there. All right, man. You got a point there. All right, Mike, man. Have a great week. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Give us the feedback. You can download this podcast wherever you download your podcasts, which is iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Do that, please. Give us the feedback and the rating and reviews. And then send us some questions on the YouTube channel, too. That's when I know Mike pops in there. We can answer them for you. And I hope you have a great week and enjoy the next weekend of NFL football. Peace out.